Chair. Representative Pilkington, I'm looking at the law that we have right now, and would you agree with me that it doesn't list, quote, arson, theft, burglary, murder, or rape?
I don't have it in front of me, but I assume you're telling me the truth.
Follow-up, Madam Chair.
You're recognized for a follow-up.
And so I think that some of the issue that you're running into, especially among the attorneys in the bunch, is that we're all familiar with principles of statutory construction. And one of those principles of statutory construction tells us that when one or more things of a class are expressly mentioned and other things of that class are not mentioned, then we are told that we have to look at them separately. And so, in looking at the fact that you have listed arson, theft, burglary, murder, or rape, I then look at the various categories of felonies we have. We have 6 categories of felonies. And all of these different examples come from different categories. Some of them are in similar categories, but some of them are not. So what are we looking at to determine what is going to be considered serious? For example, a class-wide felony, like rape or arson, is kidnapping. Kidnapping is not in your list. So are we to assume that we are excluding kidnapping from a serious felony? Burglary is not the same level of a felony as rape or arson or kidnapping. Are we to assume that other class-wide felonies are not considered serious for purposes of this amendment, but that these other felonies, which may be class A, B, C, or some uncategorized felony, should be given a higher level of importance other than some of these that are considered so serious that we have sentences of 40 years or life? So how are we picking and choosing what's considered a serious felony for purposes of your definition?
We left the serious felonies such as part of the reason because we wanted to specify certain ones that were brought up during the discussion. So when we were talking about, okay, we do create lawfully present, which ones are we concerned about the most? So we did these. Yes, they're different classes of felony. Once again, I believe that we can leave those up to the court to make those determinations.
Follow up on last one.
You're recognized for one more follow-up.
And I appreciate that, and our courts are very good at sorting through some of these factual questions, but my understanding was that the need for this new statute for SB24 was to simplify. And right now, under the existing statute, the only requirement for a potential defendant to take advantage of it is that they are not able to retreat in complete safety. And now it appears from just this definition that they have to stop and not worry about retreat, but now they have to wonder whether or not they're committing a certain type of felony, or whether this felony is considered serious, or any number of other things just from this amendment. So do you still believe that this amendment helps to simplify the statute?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Representative Flowers, you're recognized for a question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Wilkinson, I remain confused, and I'm not a lawyer just like most Arkansans are, and I know you're not either. And earlier I asked you about the definition of lawfully present.
Confusion now. They're pretending they can't understand.
And I've looked at it since you answered, and I just see that lawfully present does not prohibit the commission of misdemeanor stalking or misdemeanor domestic violence, which in my mind puts women in peril, because obviously that means that someone could be committing those misdemeanors and then be able to, if they get shot because that woman is protecting herself, and especially if she dies and she's not there to relate her story, then that person could very well use this law based upon my reading. But again, I'm not a lawyer. So I just want to, I guess, ask you a simpler question based on Representative Ferguson's example, because I want to make sure that I heard this correctly. Based on his question to you, I just want to make sure, is it under this law that someone could come on my property in the middle of the night and they not know they're on my property, that I could come to my door with a weapon, particularly as a single woman and I'm scared? I could come to my door with my weapon and say, hey, who's there? Get off my property. They could not hear me and see me with my weapon and turn around and shoot me and then they would get to use stand your ground under this amendment. Did I hear that correctly?
If they were lawfully present, they could. And I'd like to circle back on the point you made about stalking. You know, I'm trying to think of the scenario that you're talking about, 'cause you brought this point up 3 times. If someone is stalking someone and they then attack said person, there's no way that they can use the stand your ground defense, because in that they are committing a crime and are the aggressor. In some weird scenario where someone is stalking someone else and then they find themselves in a situation where they need to defend themselves against an aggressor, which I think is what is the point you're trying to make. It's let's say a man is stalking his girlfriend, she pulls out a gun on him and tells him to stop stalking him, and then he uses stand your ground because he feels threatened. He cannot use the stand your ground defense in a scenario like that. Thank you.
Madam Chair,